The Madman!
Today, welcome to some insane, and I do mean insane, new Scholomance Academy cards. By the way, I got a cool box from Blizzard. Sick box. That's right, we can just ignore everything else I got. The box is the cool thing. Let's start with a card that is both ironic and, I think, super mega powerful. It's Lore Keeper Pokelt. 4 mana, 4/5, neutral legendary. Battle cry. Reorder your deck from the highest cost card to the lowest cost card. Your deck is stacked so that the highest cost card is on the top, and you will draw it with your next card draw spells, or natural draw. And then there's crummy low cost cards. They're on the bottom of your deck. I think it goes without saying, cards with a higher mana cost are really good to play near the end of the game, because they do really big things, usually past what their mana cost even offers. For example, a deck that often tried to do that back in the day was Ramp Druid. These days it's Embiggen Druid, where you just simply have a bunch of big cards and you hope to play them one after another. And I think Pokelt, by the way, will just fit right into that deck. But that doesn't go just for that deck. Like almost every single deck, like control decks, the point is to survive so you can play your big cards. Mid-range, like you actually have a scale of low cost cards to high cost cards in the hope that you draw a few of them, throughout the game, hopefully in a good order. The only weakness of high cost cards is that you can't play high cost cards early in the game. So you have to put a few early cards in your deck also. But suppose it's in the late game. You just play your Pokelt, and then you're drawing 10 mana cards, and 9 mana cards, and 8 mana cards every single turn. This could be great in Highlander also. I'm even thinking of a deck that takes Ramp Druid in a bit of a different direction. You put Scrapyard Colossus in there, like maybe in any deck. And then at the end game, in a control deck, you just play your Pokelt, and then the following turn, you play Scrapyard Colossus. Scrapyard Colossus is a great arena card, and the only weakness of Scrapyard Colossus is you don't necessarily get it quick enough after you get to 10. But what if you just, could make sure it was the top of your deck? The Druid Ysera card, which shuffles Dreams into your deck, that could be really good with Pokelt, because the Dreams are 9 mana. So you play the Pokelt and all of the Dreams are put on the top of your deck. Run your usual Tempo Mage, put a Pyroblast in there, or maybe 2 Pyroblasts, and then just play Pokelt. And then, your next 2 draws are Pyroblast. Possibilities are endless. You can even put Archwitch Willow in the top. Nice segue. Warlock card, 9 mana, 7/7 legendary. Battle cry, summon a random demon from your hand and deck. I mean, this is obviously setting up for a big demon deck for Warlock. Right now, the most realistic setup for this is Enhanced Dreadlords. And yes, if you get Archwitch Willow with 1 Enhanced Dreadlord in your hand and 1 in your deck, that's actually insane value. However, that by itself isn't good enough. So what we're really looking for is more demons, more big demons. And I have to anticipate that if you're seeing a card like Archwitch Willow, there's probably going to be a big demon that's available for Warlock in this set. I think we can say that a 5 mana 7/7 would be pretty good, which means if you just summon a 4 cost demon from your deck, then good enough. I'm feeling in a legendary mood, so let's toss another legendary up here. This is a really unique one. It's the Sphere of Sapience. 1 mana, legendary neutral weapon. 0 attack, 4 durability. At the start of your turn, look at your top card. You can put it on the bottom and lose 1 durability. This isn't without cost. You have to pay 1 mana, and you have to use a card to, have this effect. So it's debatable on whether or not this is worth it to put it in your deck. I think that I certainly put this card into combo decks. And most combo decks, I would qualify as a deck that is racing to draw specific combo pieces from their deck. Once they execute it, they'll win the game. For those reasons, combo decks often put in cards that are fillers, just to draw cards from their deck faster. In the best case scenario, Sphere of Sapience will filter out the useless non-combo piece card onto the bottom and effectively save you a draw, in which case Sphere of Sapience could potentially be worth as much as 4 card draw over a long period. period of time. Now granted, that's an extreme case of a combo deck, but that's a way of saying, yes, it is possible for this card to be quite good in the right deck, and you need the perfect storm. You need a deck that does not want certain cards, so usually a combo deck, and a deck that isn't intent on drawing out all the cards, so like no Mecha'thun win, and it needs to be in a class that doesn't usually use weapons, because this weapon is gonna stick in your weapon slot for a while. So anyways, the combo decks, they're gonna be looking for Sphere of Sapience. Now the next question is it good in decks that specifically have certain cards that are significantly more powerful than other cards in the deck? Is it worth it to spend a card to filter out cards to get your bigger ones? It's certainly not a card that goes into every deck. I don't think it fits into aggro decks, which cannot afford to spend the extra card. They need every card they can get. Losing a card is a big deal. I think about where the line is drawn is mid-range decks will probably not run this, whereas decks with specific cards that they're looking for that are like exceptionally more powerful than their deck, such as Highlander or Galakron decks, might run it, and then combo decks will almost certainly run it. That's about how I feel about this right now. Let's take a look at the dual class card for Warrior and Rogue. Dr. Krastenov. 5 mana 4/4 rush. Whenever this attacks, give your weapon +1/+1. So most people look at this and they're like, yeah, it's Captain Greenskin, a little bit different. You lose 1 attack for rush. Yeah, basically. Slightly better than Greenskin on face value. I would trade off 1 attack for rush, and Greenskin does see play here and there, but Greenskin has one big thing up on Krastenov, which is that Greenskin is a pirate, and you often draw Greenskin right now with Ankar. So even though Krastenov is better on paper than Greenskin, maybe you don't play Krastenov and you still play Greenskin. Alternatively, maybe you play both. And furthermore, there is some synergy with Krastenov with a card like Playmaker. Playmaker is a 3 mana 4/3 for Warrior. After you play a rush minion, summon a copy with 1 health remaining. This card is especially insane in combination with just about any rush card. I mean, that's what the card does. But I think the point isn't necessarily to play this as a tempo card. I think this might be more of a control card where you play it with Restless Mummy and you actually get another basically full copy of Restless Mummy. And you get this 4/3 bonus. So I think Playmaker will be a viable one of in control decks. Maybe I'll be surprised, maybe it'll see even more play. Kind of depends on what else rush-wise we see. Next up, we've got a Star Student, Stelina. For Demon Hunter, it's a legendary 4 mana 4/3. We're really saying Demon Hunter gets some serious disruption here. Outcast, look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand, shuffle 1 of them into their deck. And without the Outcast, she is a 4 mana 4/3, which you will probably see her sadly played as that every once in a while, but obviously you want her for the Outcast ability. I think that her ability is stronger than draw a card, actually quite a bit stronger. It is actively disrupting your opponent's plans. If they're a combo deck, you can really delay their plans, put in a combo piece, shuffle it into your deck, buys yourself a lot of time. If you're playing against a control deck and you're playing a tempo-y deck, you can get rid of their answer, perhaps. And if you're a tempo deck playing against a tempo deck, you might be able to get rid of the play that they were intending to do next turn. Now, whether or not you put this into a tempo deck is really debatable because she is really competing with Skull of Gul'dan for that Outcast spot. Skull of Gul'dan is really big, and if Skull of Gul'dan ends up being on the left side of your hand, it can be really tough to get Stelina onto the left side of your hand. And this might be decent in a slightly bigger Demon Hunter, like we're talking more mid-rangey. Seems just a little slow for the most aggressive Demon Hunter decks. And this is going to be one of those cards that depends a bit on the meta. The more control and combo decks are out there, probably the better Stelina is. Another disruption card for Demon Hunter is Mage Hunter. 3 mana 2/3 rush. Whenever this attacks a minion, silence it. There was a lot of fiery debate and passion about this card, and I'm not entirely sure why. I look at this card and I'm like, wow, that's kind of bad. Most Demon Hunters aren't even running the 1 mana silence and draw a card spell, and I think that's quite superior to Mage Hunter. And if people were really that afraid of, silence something and deal 2 damage to it, You know, Shamans have had this Earthshock card for 1 mana for a really long time, and it has never really been overpowered. The Mage Hunter is actually trash, I think. And then our final card, we have 2 bonus cards after this, but those are a little bit unconfirmed. Our final confirmed card is Flinger. 1 mana, 1/1, Battlecry, deal 1 damage. Spellburst, return this to your hand. I find this card fascinating. It is mostly better than Elven Archer. It's a repeatable Elven Archer. It is the way that you could design a repeatable Spellburst effect, because each time you cast a spell after casting Flinger, you get the Flinger back in your hand, and then you can use that again. It gives any class the ability to do a 1 mana repeatable deal 1 damage. Nice. I think a lot of classes could find that useful. Paladin, for example, with Librams, can cast 0 mana spells pretty often and repeatedly, and now they can just add in 1 mana, deal 1 damage every once in a while. Maybe you'll just find this in a bunch of control decks. It's just a useful effect. Elven Archer has never been a card that has been that bad. Not the card that you would want to put in your deck, but if you were really stretching, you know, okay. Flinger is just much better. It's repeatable Elven Archer. That's just nice. Now, there are 2 cards that were not officially revealed. These are not necessarily the finalized version of the cards, and certainly I hope that this card isn't the final version of the card, but we'll take a look at it. Secret Passage for Rogue, 1 mana, replace your hand with 5 cards from your deck, swap back next turn. Your old hand just kind of gets set off to the side for a moment. So 1 mana, get 5 cards that you can play this turn before they go back in the deck. That effectively says 1 mana, draw 5 that you can use right now. It's like a Solarium, except you don't end up discarding the cards, and you get 5 of them instead of 3. That's insane, and you can run 2 copies of it. This is hands down the strongest card that I've ever seen, which is why I am not entirely sure if this is the final version. But if it is, that is a lot of fuel for aggressive rogues. Aggressive rogues running Myra's Unstable Element for 5 mana just for the last burst of fuel. This gives you a burst of fuel for 1 mana, and you can run 2 of these. Actually insane. And then Wandmaker, 2 mana, 2/2, Battlecry, add a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand. That's just a nice basic card that I could see a lot of Highlander decks putting in as the one of in the deck. That's, you know, just a nice filler card. Control decks might just want a 2 mana 2/2, which does something minor. 1-cost spells notably are very good for activating Spellburst in this set, and some classes have better 1-cost spells than others, so you'll want to find the right ones for that. I think of this as a nice maybe filler card for quite a number of decks. So wow, what a day of cards from the Scholomance Academy. This set is looking very, very wild and strong.